So with this, be it predicting the mood of our boss, predicting the mood of the next working day, to the predicting the asset, is all about the same thing. But the solutions today is not for the other ones, but for the operation standpoint, which we're going to talk about. So I'm looking a little taller now. Yeah. Again, Mr. Ganpati Raman, if you had made me a little mobile, we are talking so much about mobility, but you have restricted our own mobility. First, the challenge. Availability and performance certainly leads to throughput. At the same time, the risk and the cost, would add to your cost in terms of, failure, energy consumption or maintenance costs. Now, with the advent of technology, lot of efforts has been on collection of data, analytics, and then decision making. But there has still been a gap in terms of getting into the optimum levels, in terms of process optimization, asset availability, or yield. Now, this is the gap which we talk about in terms of the latest analytics, in terms of predictive, which fills up in terms of operational locally and again monitoring it from global, failures to be avoided completely, and finally the yield increases. So all this is a reality today which we would talk about. Particularly in analytics, I would spend some time on the predictive piece. Now, what is the need of predictive maintenance? We have heard so much about predictive maintenance. Now, proactive, before that I would say proactive maintenance. Now, proactive is a summation of preventive plus predictive. Now, in this preventive, there are a lot of efforts been put and people are still continuing to do so, which is on whatever you have defined based on your experience. But what about the unknown piece, which is again ailing the same problem, and how do I arrest that? So, if you look at, although I have mentioned conventional monitoring, but I'm proud to say we are living in an age that we are still calling this as a conventional monitoring. Best of automation systems, best of DCSs, whatever we have, they work on the principle of whatever you have defined from a standpoint of an OEM. Whatever you defined as a standpoint of an alert, or whatever you defined, more importantly, as a threshold. Now, with that threshold, you are working on whether be it in the OEM specs based on the plant experience, or you are encompassing all the modes of operation. But what about the dynamics somewhere here? Somewhere in between the threshold. That is the area where one needs assistance of high intelligence. Because you may be still from a standpoint of automation system, you're still within the threshold, but there could be certain dynamics which you are not aware of, which could still cause to a failure. So, taking an example, a distillation column. Best of automation systems are there. Best of networking solutions are there. But at the same time, fouling occurs. And fouling occurs, huge investment. It could lead to a compressor failure. 40% of your investment gone. So, again, if you resolve that after all the troubleshooting, it is not possible, or you cannot confidently say the next one I will be able to avoid, because the PF curve never repeats. Again, challenging. So, this is where we talk about the predictive analytics. So, if you see, time to plan and prevent is the best time to prevent the failure. So, somewhere down the line, if the failure occurs, you would try your best, but the train has left. So, this is the place where you require extremely intensive analysis, which is beyond the logical reasoning or thermodynamic principles, where you have to take help of data. So, smart signal is the ultimate solution what we have come out with, and this is what arrests this problem in a very logical way, as if it is able to see the complete failure and how it is being planned to avoid it. So, step by step, now it is not only important that some failure is going to occur, it's more important to understand where will it occur and what is the apparent cause. So that is what we start with, the localization of asset component. Then we get into apparent cause. Prioritization, again very important. If all the alerts start coming in addition to the DCS and the PLC alerts, I think the operators will not be able to operate a plant. They will only look at that alerts. So it's not to create amplification of chaos, but to give you an alert where normally you would have avoided it, but take it as a priority. And finally, connect to the people with a proactive notification that this is what you got to look at. Little more in details, from the data, the patented technology comes out with an estimated value, which we call it as similarity-based modeling. Now that estimated value is compared in real time with the actual value, and those deviations are again having internal pattern recognition technique which map it with respect to a particular asset or a failure which has occurred on the signature, and then the notification is sent in the form of diagnostics. Again an example here. If you see, if we had gone by the standard automation system, the alarm would have, the trip signal would have happened. Before that, a lot of failures would have already occurred. The bearings would have got damaged. The axial position itself was behaving erratically at a time where the threshold was not even recognizing it. So this is again, from a normal operation stage, ends much earlier, although from the automation system, it will not be able to be detected. So standardized it has become today that we have a blueprint available which would come out with the potential failures for a particular equipment with the potential causes. So that is important, because if I say the world is going to end, none of the investment is going to stop, right? But where it is going to be a catastrophe, if I am able to know and why, there I can prevent it. So that is the concept of blueprint. Taking another example, now if you say this is for a wind generator, wind turbine, where on the last leg if you see the blue line, that's the actual, that has deviated significantly. And the brown spots over there, if you see, they are mapping the actual deviation pattern, based on which it is detecting there is an issue from the estimated value where it should be, and you find out that it was behaving erratically, and the generator got saved. The exhaust fan, there was a challenge. Another important concept. Now the insights we already have. Now just think about it. On the PF curve, if the same amount of insight is available at a foresight level, at a much early stage, that you drill down those analytics which you would have done post the failure as a root cause analysis, what would be the effect? What would be the favorable outcome? Completely the failure can be eliminated. That is what we talk about, foresight along with insight. So you have the vibration monitoring systems, you have a lot of existing analytic tools which we also provide as a complement to Smart Signal. But if they can be used in conjunction with Smart Signal at the very early stage, so how it works is, Smart Signal will provide an alert which would trigger a detailed analytics onto your insight, and that the failure can be completely eliminated. This we have talked about a lot, but I can't stop talking about this again. This is the next wave of innovation, industrial internet. Now, whatever I have talked about from a standpoint of predictive, now just think about it if I get into a bigger horizon, where not only I am talking about machines, I am talking about transforming them to brilliant machines. From the standpoint of complete supply chain, standpoint of complete CRM, everything integrated in one cloud where you can predict the world. Certainly industry is going to grow. It is going to add back to the economy. One of the speakers mentioned about trillions of dollars being added to the economy. That's true. So just if you close the loop from a machine, all the data stream gets into analytics, then you get into mobility, and finally that goes back to the machine, transforming that into a brilliant machine, which has the intelligence to say, hey gentlemen and ladies, you got to help me out. If you don't take this action, I may get tripped. So this is where the concept of big data analytics along with predictive comes in. This is what we have as Industrial Performance Reliability Center. Now, everyone is consolidating in terms of the best practices, in terms of the best of the manpower, into one common centralized remote monitoring. That's essential. You cannot have the best of guys scattered around. To give the best bet for your complete, investment, you need a consistency, and consistency can be only driven based on a centralized best practices. This is what we have at our Chicago office, where we monitor not only power plants, not only oil and gas, but even aviation. Lot of equipments, day in and scientists are monitoring and helping the customers to get the savings of this kind. So how does it look into a reality? So if a customer has his own set of assets, there is an option that he goes in for a hosted model where we would do the complete analytics for him, we would give him all the advisories, and he gets the complete thing. But in India, it's more preferred that the customer has his own monitoring and diagnostic center. Arundhati madam mentioned about Antariksh. This is exactly what is very, very essential. So if you see, if in Antariksh the best of experts which they have, they get complemented by such a kind of solution, what would be the outcome for the entire fleet of NTPC? So this has led substantial savings. Some of the cases, if you see, of course the one in the last corner is priceless. It could have eventually led into a crash, which got saved because of smart signal. So millions in dollars are getting saved, and each of them could have led to a catastrophe, be it a combustion turbine getting damaged, be it a surge compression being identified. But friends, my idea is not to tell you what is happening globally as well. It is happening in India, and this journey has started. I'll definitely like to congratulate this huge conglomerate who have taken this initiative to do it. So there, whatever I have talked about industrial internet is in place. It's under implementation, right from visibility, mobility to predictive. It's been there. As I am aware, they certainly, got the catches. They are getting the catches and seeing the benefit. But I think there are much more to follow. Time is changing. People, data, and machines cannot remain isolated. They need to get integrated to complete the cycle, and certainly which would get into a zero downtime scenario. That's what we call as predictive analytics. Thank you.